Hello everybody, San here, engineer, MBA, and investor. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about how CRISPR is moving fast, it's moving quick, and it's here to stay. And of course, just like you saw on the title of the video, it is going to be about food. Specifically, CRISPR having the ability to eradicate a specific set of viruses from pigs, which allows individuals to get pork at a cheaper cost because now you have more pigs alive. Therefore, you can obviously have more pork in the markets. Now, of course, if you're vegan, if you don't eat pigs and so on, this video may not be the best video, but just bear with me here. It's not really about the actual animal here. I'm kind of talking about the progress of CRISPR and how CRISPR is here to stay. Now, before I do that, really quick, guys, I woke up really early here. This is the downside, or I don't know how you want to name it, but this is the upside or downside of living in the city. There's always action. Okay, and literally I woke up because there was a huge horn outside, a buzzer music outside on the street, and there was the Toronto Marathon happening this morning. And it was packed, guys. It was full packed here where I live in Uptown, in the city. And of course, people are going from Uptown to Midtown to downtown there for the marathon or half marathon. But man, it was a busy morning here. And I told myself, you know what? I got to make a video here of CRISPR as I've gotten coffee here early on. I'm energized. Let's get right into it. So guys, this is an article from MIT Technology Review, and it's titled as "The US has approved CRISPR pigs for food. Pigs whose DNA makes them resistant to a virus that could be first for big consumer product using gene editing." And a few years ago, and I quote here, of course, a few years ago, a British company called Genus set out to design pigs immune to this germ using CRISPR gene editing. Not only did they succeed, but its pigs are now poisoned to enter the food chain following the approval of the animal this week by the US FDA. The pigs will join a very short list of gene modified animals that you can eat. It's a short list because such animals are expensive to create, face regulatory barriers, and don't always pay off. For example, the US took 20 years to approve a transgenic salmon with an extra gene that let it grow faster. But by early this year, its creator, Aqua Bounty, had sold all of his fish farms and had only 4 employees, none of them selling fish. Regulations have eased since then, especially around gene editing, which tinkers with animals' own DNA rather than adding it from another species, as it is the case with salmon and many GMO crops. So you see the difference, guys. A couple of other things here, very important here, is globally people eat animal protein mostly from chickens, with pigs and cattle coming in second and third place. So pigs is actually the second animal most consumed in the world, just behind chicken. So this is no easy feat here, guys. Getting this approved for pigs here in the US is pretty big. There's a couple of other comments here in the article, but why is this important? Well, first of all, guys, let's talk about it. The virus. A virus that kind of eradicates a high number of pigs would happen, or animals. What happened is now you have less of those. And if you have less of those, this is the basic demand, supply, and business 101. Is price goes up. If price goes up, consumers are affected. Now, if you increase the supply, which means you eradicate that virus that affects these pigs to not be able to be put on people's shelves or farm shelves or however you want to put it, or people on plate. Again, if you're a vegan, guys, this is not the best video, but you have to call it a spade, right? What happens is the price goes down. And if the price goes down, obviously consumers win. And the US FDA looked at this and said, look, we're slow with regulation. We just saw an example with that salmon example. But let's get the second most consumed protein source in terms of animal, of course, with this CRISPR tool so that we can have more of it and reduce the cost, decrease inflation. And that's why a couple of years ago, I remember making a video about how CRISPR combats against inflation, because CRISPR can reduce cost of foods, just like you see here. It can reduce cost of fuels, which again, if you don't know anything about that, watch our video catalog. I think it was something like CRISPR, climate change or something like that. I made a video on it. There was a nice research paper on it with a nice chart that explained how CRISPR can come and edit out not just foods and humans, of course, with diseases, but fuels. You know, you're looking at plants, vegetation, and all the good stuff, right? And again, CRISPR can reduce inflation, right? And then allow individuals to win at the end, right? And I think the US FDA is going through a enormous change with the new US administration. I think we've all noticed that. We've made a video on it a couple of days ago. If you don't know what I'm talking about, do watch that video from earlier this past week. But there's a lot of things happening here. There's a lot happening in this space. And I think this article from MIT Technology Review, bunch of individuals are covering this, bunch of media outlets are covering this news. It's not about the animals specifically. It's about the rate of progress, right? You're getting pigs. Soon you're going to be getting the cattle. Number 3 animal source of protein in US, globally, actually. And then you're going to get chicken. And then at some point, you're going to get all these vegetation, which we've already seen is happening with potatoes, with tomatoes. We know that for a fact. In rice, certain countries with rice. We just saw India doing some work with rice. But then eventually it's going to creep up to humans. Obviously, we already see with sickle cell disease and beta thalassemia with Castor-Vii. But what about the other diseases? Not just these rare blood disorders. What about the other diseases? What about cancers? And I think this is the rate of progress, right? And I think there was something I read, not about CRISPR, but I read something about how people underestimate what technology can do long term and they overestimate what technology can do short term. And I think this is the perfect description of CRISPR. I think people are expecting things to go really fast in the next few weeks, next few months. It's not going to happen that way. But I think by end of this decade, in a couple of years, maybe in the 2030s, sometime in the 2030s, we're going to look back and say, this was an obvious story. This was so obvious that CRISPR was going to revolutionize the way we see our lifestyles, the way we see how humans live, right? Right now you have a disease, you're basically powerless, you know? Right now, eggs get a virus. If you guys remember last year and a half, I remember 2 years when there was a crazy, insane inflation happening in the world, in Canada at least. Eggs from US had a huge, I think there was a huge virus there that was going around certain farms, and there's a huge shortage of eggs. And obviously we're powerless, right? Other than just increasing pricing and then obviously eating less eggs, thus becoming less nutritious in our diet plans. And of course, increasing costs, which means we're all incurring inflation. Well, what happens when now you have a tool that can kind of eliminate that problem? What happens when you do have a disease or something along those lines? You're not powerless. You actually have a path to a functional cure, just like CEO of NTLA said in yesterday's video we made about it. You know, people are looking for a functional cure, right? And I think CRISPR allows that. CRISPR, for the first time ever in humanity, it allows you to have a functional cure for many of these rare diseases, many of these, not just rare, just a bunch of these diseases that you see with individuals, right? What happens when you have maybe a certain set of behavior in your body and you can kind of eradicate those behaviors with CRISPR being the tool, the main primary tool. Now, CRISPR is not going to be the only tool. I think people have to be mindful of that. It's a toolkit, right? It's a toolkit. One of the tools, a major tool would be CRISPR, but you have other tools that you kind of have to leverage as well, depending on the situation. You know, you talk about mRNA technology. You talk about other things, right? You talk about all these CAR T cells, and you talk about the NK cells that Sana Biotechnologies is working on. There's a lot of things happening in this space. But I think there's something to be said about the rate of progress, just like we've seen here with what's happening with the FDA approving the first ever gene edited pigs for their market shelves, or however you want to say it, to get on people plates. Again, I pre-warned you guys this was not going to be a friendly video to vegans and so on, but again, it's all about the rate of progress of CRISPR. So guys, I'm going to end this video like this on this beautiful Sunday here. I'll probably do a couple of things here, probably do my errands here, probably take it relaxed. It feels really good on weekends, to be honest. Just doing your stuff, cleaning the home, taking it relax, and then entering back to the battle zone on Monday to Friday. So it feels good to relax a little bit. I got a busy week this week, so I don't know how many videos I can do this week. But just like I promised, these videos are back on a continuous basis, guys. I want people to look up to CRISPR. I want people to be educated about CRISPR. Again, this is free information, free education, no strings attached, no subscription, nothing. All I ask you guys is to like these videos, subscribe, do subscribe, really helps the channel, and like it, guys. It puts our videos on people's homepage. You'd be surprised how fast it puts on people's homepage, the YouTube algorithms. So guys, let me know in the comments below what you guys think. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a beautiful Sunday.